Welcome to the University of Michigan's Economics Department's commencement for the class of 2020. My name is Mel Steffens and I am the interim chair of the Economics Department. I'm honored to be a part of this event to recognize your achievements. I'm sure that when you first imagined what your graduation day might look like, it was probably a typical Ann Arbor day. Gray and overcast. Well, fear not, it currently is that way outside here right now, although I'm guessing the rest of what you pictured was a little bit different than what you're watching at this moment. Nevertheless, I'm very glad that we're able to celebrate this important milestone in your lives. First, I want to congratulate you on your achievements. You spent hundreds of hours in the classroom, not to mention countless additional hours studying in dorm rooms, coffee shops, libraries, a friend's house, or wherever else you may have found a place to sit with a viable Wi-Fi connection, all the while working towards earning your degree. You should be incredibly proud of yourselves for having successfully navigated a challenging and rigorous academic program. You now join the more than 25,000 prior graduates of the University of Michigan's Economics Department during its 140 years in existence. Second, I would like to take a moment to congratulate those watching who have supported our graduates, your family and friends. Thanks for all that you have done to help our graduates reach this milestone. We are honored that you have allowed us to be a part of the life of your loved one. Graduates, be sure to take a moment to thank those who have supported you, whether that may be in person, virtually, or by some other means. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce Professor Jim Hines, who is the Richard A. Musgrave Collegiate Professor of Economics and the L. Hart Wright Collegiate Professor of Law. Jim is also our Director of Undergraduate Studies, where he's done a fantastic job bringing a tremendous amount of energy and enthusiasm into this role.
Congratulations to the economics graduates of the class of 2020. You have persevered and even thrived in an exciting but very demanding course of study at the University of Michigan. As a consequence, you have learned economic principles and how to apply them, and these principles will serve you throughout the rest of your life. I wish that we were having this ceremony as planned in the Chrysler Center, with all the grandness and beauty of that space and the banners of championship teams hanging from the rafters. The Chrysler Center is so awe-inspiring, it just says economics. And that's why we should be there. Instead, we have a graduation video, which is not the same thing as a live graduation experience, though it does offer some advantages. In Economics 101 and Economics 401, we introduce the axiom of free disposal. Free disposal is what makes possible the first welfare theorem, which says that competitive private markets are efficient. The first welfare theorem is very important, and therefore so is free disposal. Well, with a video, you get free disposal. You don't have to watch the whole thing. An economist should like that, even applaud it, and I do. So if you find this speech dull, you have an alternative. The class of 2020 had the opportunity to study economics at one of the top departments in the country. Lest anyone doubt that economics is a timely and important subject, the class of 2020 got to finish its economic studies at Michigan during the most abrupt and severe economic downturn of the last 90 years. The subject you chose to major in has ongoing vitality. Economics is not easy. If it were easy, anyone could learn it, and then the return to knowing economics would be low, and we don't want that. So we in the economics business have kept the subject exciting and challenging on your behalf, and you have mastered it. Someone else who has mastered economics is our distinguished speaker. John Denniston is a graduate of the University of Michigan, where he received a BA in economics in 1980. John followed that with earning a law degree at the University of Michigan Law School in 1983. And after that, he practiced law in California, where he was a partner at a large San Francisco law firm. Following that, he was managing director and head of technology investment for the Western United States at Solomon Smith Barney. And after that, he was senior partner at the major Silicon Valley venture capital firm Kleiner Perkins. John is currently chairman of the board of SharedX, an agricultural impact company. At the University of Michigan, John has been in several roles, including as a visiting professor and serving on several advisory committees. And now he is going to offer advice to you.
A big hearty congratulations to the University of Michigan Department of Economics, Class of 2020. I wish we could gather in person today, and I extend my sympathies for the hardships you've had to endure. I also offer my sincerest condolences to those of you who have lost loved ones in the pandemic. The message I'd like to leave you with is this: if you choose, you can create unity in a time of distress and discord. In fact, many times in history, a breakdown was required to bring about a breakthrough, for chaos to rekindle community. Class of 2020, do you want to be the great generation that reverses the tide, that fortifies community, the one that unifies? You get to decide. In America, are we allowed to have two greatest generations? There's only one way to find out. Opportunity knocks. 60 years ago, at 2 o'clock in the morning, on the steps of the Michigan Union, and in the midst of a heated presidential race, Senator John F. Kennedy electrified thousands of U of M students with the idea of the Peace Corps, without calling it by name. Within days, some students mobilized, and within 2 weeks, produced volunteer commitments signed by 800 of their classmates to do manual labor in emerging countries to be named later. Word of the extraordinary events in Ann Arbor got back to Kennedy, and some of his aides believe it was the U of M students' harmony and exuberance that gave him the courage to launch the Peace Corps. In the midst of discord, there was unity. 260 years ago, Adam Smith wrote about happiness and said the best path to it is to unite our best mind with our best heart. Is that even thinkable today? Definitely. You see, there's a great blending taking place right now, often hidden in plain sight, in which formerly disparate categories are coming together. Step back for a moment and consider, in the market, the merger of profit and purpose. In a career, the integration of job and joy. Allow me to begin with the first, profit and purpose, because it leads naturally into the second, job and joy. I'll then turn to a third great blending opportunity for your consideration. The impact economy is the crucible forging into one the drive of a for-profit with the heart of a nonprofit. We've already seen for-profit companies also generate social and environmental returns. And for the impact pioneers themselves, another form of return frequently materializes. A depth of personal fulfillment not on offer at a conventional company. In other words, just the sort of happiness Adam Smith taught. I'm a co-founder of a for-profit agriculture company, SharedX, that also lifts smallholder farmer incomes and deploys responsible farming methods. I've been laboring away in the impact crucible for 5 years now and can report this to you from the frontier. It's been far and away the most rewarding professional experience of my life. What do you get if you align your daily work with your deepest values? You get something way better and longer lasting than following your passion. It's called joy. Some days at least. I have another Impact Frontier alert for you. There's a fascinating market phenomenon in which consumers, investors, and workers are driving companies hard towards impact. There's been a dramatic upshift of the demand curves for goods, capital, and labor, all in the impact direction. One example. The sustainable consumer products segment is growing 5 times faster than the conventional segment. It's astonishing the simultaneous nature of this triple upshift has gone largely unnoticed. Your generation holds the source code. Your demand curves will determine the purpose of business in the products you support, as well as the jobs you take and the investments you make. Which brings me to a great blending opportunity those of you pursuing an academic path might consider. Uniting the how of economics with the why of philosophy, and for some of you, theology too. In other words, integrate the wealth of nations with the health of nations. In the universe, a collision between 2 galaxies creates powerful gravitational waves that unite distant objects. Maybe, just maybe, you can help unleash unifying gravitational waves by discovering the intersection points between the economy and human fulfillment. Even better if you too move at the speed of light. I have a rhetorical question for you. Why has our culture amplified Adam Smith's invisible hand, but neglected his teaching on happiness? Is it too late to resume a research project begun 260 years ago? You get to decide. For the economy, there's a crucial distinction between convention and tradition. Convention is the repetition of past practices, in many cases because that's the way we do things around here. On the other hand, the tradition of the American economy is each generation expresses innovation in its own unique way. It's your turn. Class of 2020. If you invent unity, you'll also find something unexpectedly good along the way. I've been curious about what exactly candidate John Kennedy said on the steps of the Michigan Union early that morning, 60 years ago. I found an audio recording and listened. I could feel the students' extraordinary energy, none more so than when Kennedy closed with this. The University of Michigan doesn't exist, and I quote, merely to help its graduates have an economic advantage in the life struggle. There is certainly a greater purpose and I'm sure you recognize it. Was John F. Kennedy right? Does the degree you've earned today have a greater purpose? And do you recognize it? You get to decide. Godspeed and go blue.
On behalf of the faculty and graduates, thank you, John Denniston, for these remarks. We are enormously pleased and proud to count you among our alumni. And speaking of our alumni, the class of 2020 did an outstanding job in their economics studies. A small number performed with exceptional distinction, and we honor them now. The Ferrando Honors Prize is given to the best graduating honors student in economics. The 2020 Ferrando Honors Prize goes to Jessica Meadows. The John Elliott Parker Memorial Prize honors an outstanding written contribution to labor economics or to the field of human resources. The 2020 John Elliott Parker Memorial Prize goes to Michael McMain, Jared Stolove, and Kun Yan. The Sims Honors Scholarship is given for the most outstanding academic record through the end of the junior year. The 2020 Sims Honors Scholarship goes to Benjamin Charlson, Andre Maliugan, Yu Song, and Lingkong Zhu. The Service Award is given for exemplary contributions to undergraduate life in the Department of Economics. The 2020 Service Award goes to Anna Levashkovich and Anna Strahlman. The Henry Carter Adams Prize is given for excellence in undergraduate writing. I simply have to add that Henry Carter Adams was the very first economics professor at the University of Michigan, and what a professor he was. He was a founding member of the American Economic Association and one of its presidents, and a very distinguished scholar of public finance. Henry Carter Adams was the author of the classic Public Debts, which is an 1887 treatise on government debt and is growing more timely by the day. The winner of the 2020 Henry Carter Adams Prize is Jared Stolove and Eric Fegan. The Harold Osterweil Memorial Prize is given for the most outstanding academic record and the greatest social awareness. The 2020 Harold Osterweil Memorial Prize goes to Bridget Cummings, Anna Levashkovich, Rachel Lissner, and Wenya Wu. And now, my colleague, Professor Catherine Dominguez, will introduce our honors graduates.
Hello, I'm Professor Catherine Dominguez, the Director of the Honors Program in the Department of Economics. It is my great pleasure to introduce you to the 20 economics majors in the class of 2020 that have achieved honors. These students completed an independent research project that culminated in an honors thesis with the guidance of a faculty advisor. I will introduce you to these outstanding students in alphabetical order. Abhi Bukkapatnam earned high honors. His research examined the impact of the H-1B visa program on multinational research investments overseas. Catherine Cox earned highest honors. Catherine's thesis examines the role of involuntary job displacements on the marriage and divorce decisions of men using the Panel Survey of Income Dynamics. Eric Fegan earned highest honors. Eric's thesis investigates the effects of environmental contamination, PFAS, on property sales and values in Michigan. Emma Fulwiler earned high honors. She studied independence movements in Africa and how they influenced female labor market participation. Adria Li Yen Hui earned high honors. She studied the international labor market for faculty, hand collecting and comparing wage differences across faculty at different U.S. universities. Rohan Janaki-Raman earned highest honors. He studied whether NBA basketball players respond to economic incentives in the year before they are free agents. Davis Casper earned high honors. Davis created a price cycler that allowed him to experimentally change prices on Amazon to measure price elasticity of demand. Rohan Kumar earned highest honors. He studied the effects of Uber and Lyft and how they interact with weather conditions on the market for taxi medallions in New York City. Iran Lean earned highest honors. Her thesis examines the effects of the 2018-19 U.S. federal government shutdown on the stock prices of firms with government contracts. Michael McMain earned highest honors. His thesis studies the legalization of same-sex marriage to investigate its impacts on the labor market outcomes of men and women in same-sex couples. Jessica Meadows earned highest honors. Her thesis estimates how employment in energy-producing industries was affected by the 2015 oil price shock. Dylan Piacelli earned high honors. Dylan's thesis analyzed the impact of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act on home prices. Yinan Chu earned highest honors. Her thesis studies how stock market returns of energy companies react to news about environmental policies. Yu Sung earned highest honors. Her thesis studies price parity clauses and their impacts on product prices on Amazon and eBay. Jared Stolov earned highest honors. His thesis examines how trade policies influence the number and geographic distribution of international migrants. Amanda West earned high honors. Her thesis investigates the global governance of intellectual property rights through the TRIPS mechanism administered by the World Trade Organization. Wu Wenjia earned high honors. She collected new data to examine how the likability of Super Bowl ads affects a company's stock price. Kun Yen earned highest honors. He examines employment to population ratios to evaluate the impact of hurricanes on local labor markets in both directly and indirectly affected counties. Wu Jia Zhong earned high honors. She examines the effects of the 2008 OSHA regulation of combustible dust on workplace accidents. Ji Chu earned honors. Her thesis studies the effects of recent U.S. airline mergers on airfares and financial performance. Please join me in congratulating these outstanding Economics Department honors students. It has been a pleasure getting to know each of them. And congratulations to the class of 2020. Go Blue!
I would like to once again offer congratulations to our graduates, your families, and friends. We now list the members of our 2020 graduating class. We are very proud of the graduates of the University of Michigan's Economics Department. Congratulations and good luck in all your future endeavors. Go Blue!